Hey, party people. What's up? What's up? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Um, so last week I tried to do YouTube live twice, my usual Tuesday 10 a.m. time slot, and it froze on me both times, and that was really weird because I didn't do anything different. I was not trying to stream from a different place in my house. I wasn't playing with new settings. I was using the same mic. Speaking of mics, check me on the sound. Let me know how it sounds. But it was not my luck last week, I guess. So we're here today. And today we're going to be talking about menswear versus women's wear. And let me tell you something. This is I can't believe, I swear to God, I really hate Safari sometimes. Um, I really, really do. Anyway, hi Ellen. Welcome, welcome. So my joke is that this live stream official title could be Zoe answers Janine's questions, because I have never had a commenter consistently post so many interesting questions that would be great for a topic of discussion in a future video or live stream so consistently, like Janine. So Janine, thank you for providing endless content for everyone. Hi Rachel, hi Naveed. Good morning, good morning. Only morning here, all the way at the very far end of the world. Rachel says, sound seems good. Thank you, thank you. So the other day, or last week, she asked me, Janine asked me, do you know why it seems like menswear is made better? Like, it has nicer fabrics, it's sewn better, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yes. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about menswear versus women's wear and why it's important to my brand, why it's important to your brand. Stacy James finally on time. Hi, Zoe. I hope you and your family are doing well. Rogue Gang says, hi, hello, hello. We're doing great over here. Hope you are all doing awesome. So, the thing with menswear, and here's the thing, is like the industry, as much as we like to rail against the industry, responds to the way people behave. It's a symbiotic relationship. I'm not on the side of brands and I'm not on the side of consumers. I just try to observe both sides of the coin and what the industry has observed and what they have decided, okay, is that women tend to shop more, okay, whether it's for themselves, which is plenty, or for their whole families. Um, Women's purchasing power is great because even if they're not spending their own money, they are doing the purchasing for the whole family. Okay. Women tend to shop more. Women tend to gravitate towards trends or even be interested that trends exist and try to follow them if something suits. And yeah, I am someone, I don't chase every trend, but I will notice when there's a trend that I'm interested in. Whereas men, okay, and of course, I'm hugely generalizing, okay, not all men, haha, but men typically shop only when they need to, when their jacket has a hole in it, all their socks are threadbare, like that sort of thing. And so they'll go once, um, and they don't want to go back until they really, really need to. And so the industry has responded by making sure menswear at the same price point. Okay, we're always comparing menswear and women's wear at the same price point. It has the fabric has to be a little bit nicer, the stitching has to be a little bit stronger, And the styles tend to be a little bit more classic. Menswear tends to be less trendy historically and change more slowly over time. So even when you look at just the 20th century fashion, you know, just the evolution of menswear is so much slower. If you look at suits from the 20s or the 10s or the turn of the 20th century, and the way women dressed, like if women dressed like that, they would look like they're going to a costume party. If men dressed like that, I mean, they would still kind of look costumey, but not as much as women. They would just kind of be like, oh, he's a little old school. I get men's fashion evolves very slowly, especially after the Industrial Revolution. And it was decided that men had to look serious and somber and neutral colors and be more serious minded. Because, of course, there have been times where menswear was just as extravagant, just as intricately bordered, embroidered, colorful, all these things with extravagant fabrics, satin silks, and things like that. But now it's more classics driven, it's more neutrals driven, it's more quality driven. So the reason why people have been paying so much attention in the resurgence of like centralizing menswear in the last 20 years is because menswear has not been very paid much attention to in the 20th century. Ellen says kind of the same way men go to the doctor. Facts. Okay. Chelsea, hey Zoe, on vacation this week. Excited to be joining live. Hey, what was that? Hey Chelsea, welcome to the live. Whereas the industry views women as those who are willing to buy for the look more than the quality, and they will sacrifice a little quality if it's a cute look that is on trend. And so they do cut corners on quality, on fabric quality, on sewing quality to accommodate the trends. Not just in fast fashion, of course in fast fashion, but even more so, there's more change every season for women's wear than there is for menswear. Okay. And because the last 20 years, people have been more and more focused on menswear and making interesting menswear, that has changed a little bit. But the focal points of all this whole surge of menswear brands coming in the last 20 years, it still focuses a lot on quality, on things that last. And, there are new looks. Like for a long time, we had that super, super skinny Eddie Slimane look. For a while, we had the Tom Brown, ankle length suiting look. So we have had more recently these waves of trends in menswear, but it is still centered on making the fabrics and construction more higher quality for menswear than women's wear, because women just cycle through trends. That's kind of the prevailing wisdom. Okay. If you look at Chinese red carpets, the men look dapper there. You can tell them apart from the butlers. I mean, I'm not saying that men don't look dapper in whatever classic suiting they're wearing. My Patreon group will tell you on our monthly meetup on Sunday, I scrolled through Emmy photos, Emmy red carpet photos. Hi, Violet Femme. Oh, I cannot talk today. What is going on? Hi, Violet Femme. Welcome to the live. So on Sunday with my Patreon group, I scrolled through a bunch of Emmy pictures where we discussed the fit. And I didn't really get into who had a great outfit on, who didn't. It was more about whether things were tailored correctly, whether things fit, whether bra cups address the actual breast size of the person wearing the dress, that sort of thing. But, there's actually a lot more variance you can do in suiting than one would think. How do I know? Because and if you're in my Patreon group, shout out because we looked at some weird looking things on Sunday. We're like, what is that? uh, Chelsea says, anyone not part of the Patreon group really missed out. It was very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, addressing fit is like half the battle. So, Rachel says, I've thought for a long time that men really get the short end of the stick when it comes to fashion. Even just working with standard suits, there's so much variation that can make a suit really pop. Our Penguin Boy says, wish I was in the Patreon. You can join the Patreon. I do my meetups at the Meetups and Archives tier. That's patreon.com/Zoe Hong. And I record our monthly Zooms so that people can watch afterwards because we do cover a lot of good information in those meetups. But yeah, so that's kind of the state of menswear. And the tide is turning a little bit, but it is really hard to. It's so funny. Fashion is for such a fast-moving industry, like the tide can be really slow to change, and fashion really isn't as agile as people think. The trends move so fast, but the way of doing business moves very slowly. Fashion education is so slow to change. Do not get me started on that. Oh my God. Fashion education is so slow to change and address new upcoming issues in the fashion industry. And okay, that's not what today's about. Okay. So that's menswear versus women's wear. You know, I think many of you have heard me discuss the pink tax. The pink tax goes beyond fashion, and it is when you have two products that are identical, except one is marketed towards women by changing up the color or the fragrance or how it's presented in a commercial, and one is marketed towards men in more stereotypical masculine colors, masculine scents, and the men's version is cheaper. And the most obvious examples of this are razors. Okay, this is not something I made up. This is something that people have expounded upon often. Is you'll find a razor from one of the main companies, and it's targeted towards men. It's silver or black or whatever, and it's this amount. And then the same company will have a razor, make it pink, and then all of a sudden it's $2 more. Okay, one time, I forget what exact medicine I was looking for. Oh yeah, I was looking at Dulcolax because I was looking at all these medications and I saw pink Dulcolax, which is a laxative, and I was like, what's pink Dulcolax? And so I was looking at the ingredients. I was looking at the active ingredients, the percentage in the active ingredients. Like, was it formulated differently? No, it was the same as the regular, no color, no differentiation Dulcolax. It was just more expensive and pink. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, you put the same pill in a pink box and upcharged it. Like, there's literally a pink tax. Like, it kind of makes me crazy just thinking about how, when you think about how many green lights a product has to go through in order to make it to market, and you think all those people, okay, I wanted to say something else right there, but all those people decided, yeah, a pink Dulcolax, no new formulation, and we're gonna make it more expensive. Yeah. So, you know, there has been arguments like, oh, Midol is the only thing that helps me. It's like, make sure you're getting something where it's not just ibuprofen. There's a lot of Midol that's super expensive, and all it is ibuprofen. There are some formulations for different drugs where there is something else involved. Like, when I get migraines, I do take Excedrin migraine, and it is not just acetaminophen, but it also includes aspirin and caffeine. Like, that's an actual reformulation, and it is a separate drug. But a lot of the time, like, Midol is just ibuprofen, which is the same as Advil. So all you have to do is just check the dosage of the active ingredient, and you should not be paying more for that, just because Midol is obviously targeted towards women, people with periods, that sort of thing. So pink tax is everywhere. Yes, the men are waking up a bit. I wish they were like male birds, lol, bring the beauty. I know, right? Like if you have studied any amount of biology, zoology, like if you've studied birds or any sort of animal, a lot of the time, the version with the more like wild, colorful plumage is the male. Like I grew up in Anchorage, up in Alaska, and there were mallard ducks everywhere. If you see mallard ducks with the bright green, greenish, bluish, iridescent head, those are the dudes. And then the all brown one is the female. They do have like a little blue window on their wing. It's very pretty. And I know, like evolutionarily speaking, that female birds and many female animals, they are less distinct and less colorful because they have evolved to be able to be camouflaged in nature, in natural settings, their natural habitat, so they can protect their young. They can lay on their eggs and protect their eggs, protect their young. And the men can be more distracting, also attract mates, that sort of thing, you know. Steve Lawson, gotta go. My Chinese food just came. That is an excellent reason to leave. Chinese food is bomb, and now I want noodles. I went to this place in Paris. I loved it so much. It's this Chinese place that does biang biang noodles, except their main, most famous dish is one noodle. It's just many feet long, but it's just one noodle. And so my husband and I still make jokes like, I want to go to Paris and just eat one noodle. Just go eat one noodle. Gabrielle says, no way. I thought the green was just a different species. No, the same species, but different genders. Yeah. Rachel says, oh, I love how male mallard ducks look. The same goes for many species. Yeah. Because it's men's jobs to attract mates so they can breed them and propagate the species. And if they're not attractive, you know, what do animals have? They don't have money. They don't have status. They don't like, they have to be pretty. There are a lot. It's very prevalent in birds, especially. But if you're ever curious, and this could be like a really cool inspiration for a design project, go look up like the difference in male and female species of different birds and how they look, and mating dances of different male animals, you know, and what they have to do to attract mates, different plumage, like all that kind of stuff. Do you know any brands or designers that do good menswear? There's so many. Like, there's, there's a lot. You're gonna have to be a little bit more specific on like price point and style and category of garment. Like, there's a lot out there. So that's kind of the state of women's menswear versus womenswear. And the reason why I've been thinking about this a lot, other than the fact that Janine asked about it, is, which the short answer is, designers responding to historically consistent shopping habits of men versus women. Okay. I've been thinking about it because I want to build a brand that functions like a menswear brand without being menswear at all. Okay. I want my clothes to have better quality fabric, have better quality construction, and not chase every trend. Have pieces that stay consistent to the brand season after season. And trust me, I'm not saying that I'm the only women's wear brand who does this. I'm just trying to frame it to you in this way. I want to have some classic pieces that stick around season to season and maybe change up the colors. Maybe not. Maybe it's just always going to be the same thing. But it be so distinctly feminine. And I use the word feminine loosely. Like, I wouldn't ever dissuade a man from wearing my stuff. Like if a man wanted to wear it, yeah, go for it. If you love flowers and embroidery and like wackadoo embellishments, yeah, go for it, you know? I love a bit of gender freakery and androgynous and unisex things, and I wear menswear all the time. Um, because of the way my body is shaped, I tend to wear men's jeans often. So, hello, Doreen. Welcome to the live. Uh, so I want my brand to function as menswear while looking decidedly feminine. And except I don't exactly want to say that. Like maybe you can help me figure out like how to describe it. It's like I want something that functions like a menswear brand, no pink tax, but is decidedly for women in its aesthetics. Like menswear, that's a high price point, formal style that's more than suits and ties. High price point menswear that's more than suits and ties. Ooh. I'm going to say Tom Brown, which is hilarious because he's known to be a tailor. He's known for his suits. But if you look at like his general aesthetic, he kind of works outside of like the preconceived notion of what a suit always needs to look like. So that's one. Chelsea says, but with right over left, center front. Right over left, left over right. Y'all know the driving story, right? Of left over right, right over left. So most menswear is the jackets and shirts and everything are left over right. And with women's wear, it's right over left. And I wear so much menswear that I forget about that kind of thing all the time. And some brands like don't adhere to that very closely, or they don't know about it because they don't have like a formal fashion education where, you know, a 70-year-old pattern maker drilled that into you. But if you haven't watched the video where I talk about this is how I learned left over right, right over left. Okay, so I had a pattern making teacher in fashion school named Evelyn McInerney. I adored her, and I she was of a different generation, shall we say. And I also went to fashion school 100 years ago. So just imagine like her mindset. She's like, this is how you remember left over right, right over left. Okay. And granted, we were mostly girls in fashion school, like that particular class. We didn't have very many guys in that class. And she was like, so girls, pretend that you're going on a date with a nice young man and he comes to pick you up in his father's Cadillac. And he takes you to dinner, and then afterwards he drives you both up the lovers lane or whatever nice stopping point. You guys go parking, wink wink. Like I love Evelyn. You know, she was like, you guys go parking, wink wink, and he's sitting in the driver's seat and you're sitting in the passenger seat, and because his shirt is left over right, you can reach over and slide your hand in his shirt. And since your shirt is right over left, he can reach to the passenger side and slide his hand in your blouse. This is how my pattern teacher helped us learn left over right, right over left, menswear versus women's wear. Bless you, Evelyn, wherever you are. Yeah. Like who forgets a story like that? You'll never forget left over right, right over left after that, right? Felicia says, "Oh, honey, that's so good." I'm saying, right? Like it's the mechanics are a little outdated, but you know, she did come like a long time ago. She's talking about like 1950s drive through and Daddy's Cadillac, like that's a memorable story, Violet Femme says, and I agree. I still remember it to this day. And, you know, fashion school was a long time ago. I started fashion school in the 90s, like, it was a long time ago. So, Rachel says, hilarious story. Now I'm never gonna forget. Y'all better not forget. Left over right, right over left. Oh my god, my husband is on a Zoom call right now. We are like dueling Zooms. Um, my husband has finally gotten to that age. Okay, y'all know this is how you know an old man. Okay, you know a man is old when all of a sudden when they are talking on the phone, especially if they're talking to someone not in the same time zone, and they gotta yell like it's gonna help them be heard across the Atlantic Ocean or something. Like the technology isn't the same whether the person is across town or across the entire continent. Okay, that's how you can tell a man is old because all of a sudden, when they have a transatlantic call, they gotta talk real loud. This is my father, okay? When he started getting to a certain age, and I don't know if it's about his hearing. I think his hearing is fine. But like my dad, when he would call Korea, I would always know he was calling folks in Korea because he would get so loud, like much louder than if he was just like calling work, like anybody around town. Like my parents yell on the phone when they talk to family members overseas. Exactly. Like, what is that? That's old people shit. Pardon my French, but yeah, my husband is at that age now. He'll be on a Zoom. He has business partners in London. And so sometimes he'll get up these, all of a sudden he gets super loud. I'm like, babe, they can't hear you any better if you start yelling. And he's not mad. He's not mad. He's just, talking regular. Like the content of what he's saying isn't angry. Like he's just loud. Anyway, so back to menswear versus womenswear. I want to build a fashion brand, and I wish more people did this, where uh, they were thinking more thoughtfully about how to address their customers instead of moving so quickly. The fashion cycle, especially for women, is so fast. It's so fast. It's too fast. Okay. Everyone talks about fast fashion being H&M, Zara, blah blah blah. I think the entire fashion industry is too fast. Everything gets regurgitated and shown so fast, and there's no building of anticipation. There's no lull. It's like these, you see these fashion content creators, and I get it. It's a little bit of a humble brag, but I also follow fashion journalists like Christine Brinkley and Robin Given, and it's just like fashion week after fashion week after fashion week, and it's like you have to get breath, but you can't. It's like next fashion week, it's like, and then it's menswear, and then we have like secondary fashion weeks in Copenhagen and Berlin, and then it's like a constant steady stream, and it's like you're not building any expectation, you're not building any anticipation, you're not building any mystique, intrigue, nothing. It's just a constant go, 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 go. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? New creative director over here, new creative director over there. Like everyone's talking about Demna's debut over at Gucci, and then like the Glenn Martin's article he was talking about how social media has turned fashion into the Hunger Games. And if you read like all the blurbage around that, I do agree with a lot of what he was saying. And it's just moving so fast. Rachel says, if I'm speaking Spanish, my second language, I answer the phone like a normal person. But when I answer the phone in English, I always got to yell, hi, can you hear me? What's that about? I will say that my husband does make fun of my Korean voice. He says it just gets higher. I sound much more girly when I speak Korean, which is not on purpose. It just happens. But yeah, I do think that people do have like a different kind of voice when they speak a second language or a third language, or, that kind of matches more of their personality in their other language. I don't know. That's another conversation. So I saw this incredible runway review, and I'm going to go find that video. It's a TikTok. I'm going to find that TikTok again and post it in the comments of this live stream after we get off. But this guy was doing a runway review of Richard Quinn, and he was pretty much focusing on garment quality, construction quality, and not really like, oh, the trend is this, that, and the other. And he was showing close-ups of the way zippers were sewn, the way embroideries were done. Like there was one where the outer shell of the dress was so heavily beaded, and it was attached to a corset on the inside, but the beading on the dress was so heavy that it was falling down, and it was like rolling over, so you could see the lining, the corset parts, like sticking up at the top, because it was like it had folded over and down, and there was like a centimeter of the lining showing at the top because the outer shell was so heavy and was just like falling down the gown. Um, and the thing I also loved was he was assessing like this was like, he was talking about, this is something that happened last minute, like it looks really bad, but you can tell that, like it was just it was not a matter of quality, but sometimes like if a model is wearing a really tight fitting something and they just cough wrong and like, or like a big sneeze, they could pop a seam because, especially in ready to wear, they don't have the time to fit every single model to a T. Okay. This was another comment. Somebody left, I forget who, but they were asking me about runway models and when they get cast and how do they fit all the runway models for the show. Runway models do not get cast until the show, like until the collection is mostly done. Okay. When they're planning the show at the end of the season or end of the sampling season. And all the models that, like when you become a model, you kind of get put into a particular category depending on your measurements. Okay. So you might be like a size 10, 8 and be a plus size or curve model. If you're thin enough, you can do the couture shows in Paris where you need to be like extra skinny. They say these things like the further west you go, the fatter you're allowed to be. Listen, I know that sounds terrible. Okay. I didn't make that up. But basically, what they're saying is the Parisian and Italian models are the thinnest. And like New York, still very thin, but a little bit bigger because we're Americans, we're all fat, whatever. Right. And then West Coast models, initially because West Coast is known for swim and we like to see a little bit curve with swim. But West Coast models are a little bit bigger than New York models. And yeah, so there are certain categories. If you are a particular size and height, maybe you're more of a catalog model, like all these things. So depending on your physical measurements, you're kind of cast in these particular kinds of modeling arenas. Chaotic Pisces. I think I just saw the TikTok video you were talking about. Maybe I did repost it. Like I enjoyed it so much, I reposted it to my own feed. So all the models are supposed to be a particular size, and the kinds of designers that know that they're always going to do a runway presentation for the official calendar, they plan for that and they make their samples that size. Okay. I know I'm always saying make your sample size the middle size of your grade run. That's because the vast majority of fashion lines do not show on the official calendar. But if you show on the official calendar, you do need to make a set of samples that fit the runway models. Now, of course, there are going to be variances, like some models just naturally have a smaller waist in proportion to their hips. Some models have slightly broader shoulder, but they're all very uniform, so that they come in and they can wear potentially any piece in the collection or many of the pieces in the collection. And as they're casting, they get put into certain outfits. They go to the casting, they have a list of models they want to hire, and they're like, oh, this girl would look good in this, and her coloring would suit this outfit's colors better. Like, they sort of kind of set that up. And then when they get to the final casting, you might shuffle some outfits around because something doesn't fit right. It doesn't look as good in person as you thought. Like, all these things happen. And sometimes a girl goes on vacation after casting and comes back and has gained like 2 pounds. And when you're like 110 pounds, 2 pounds is a lot. It all of a sudden shows up like in your rib cage. Okay, I'm exaggerating. Okay, but it has happened. Fun fact: are y'all aware of the famous cover, the Vogue cover that was Anna Wintour's very first cover, where that model, Michaela, I think her name is, she's wearing a Christian Lacroix sweater with a big beaded cross with jeans. Okay, those of you remember that cover? So initially she was cast for that cover shoot, and there was a matching skirt to go with that sweater. But after her casting, she actually did go vacation at home and ate her mom's cooking for a full week and gained like 4 pounds, something ridiculous, but just enough where the skirt didn't fit her anymore. And so they were like, all right, put her in jeans. And it became like, that's the story that came out as the way Michaela told it. She's like, I couldn't fit in the skirt, so they put me in jeans. And, people really gave a lot of credit to Anna Wintour for starting the high-low trend, the designer denim trend, and all these things. But it was a happy accident. She couldn't fit into the skirt. So she had to wear jeans. Listen, I'm sure if they really, really, really wanted to make the skirt work, they could like pin and tape and flying buttress the back of it or something. But that's the so-called story. So these things happen. And so models get shuffled, recast, stylists will come in and redo outfits. If you watch my Paris videos on my main channel, then you know that I attended the final casting for Rahul Mishra shows. And yeah, the models came in and they had some idea as to what they wanted each model to wear, depending on, their general look, their presence, their height, like all these things. And then they're trying on their final outfits. They're getting their final outfit assignments, getting their Polaroids taken after everything's been finalized. The outfit, the accessories, how it's going to be styled coming down the runway, what shoes they're wearing, all these things, all the notes on like the last minute decisions. Like we will last minute trim hems when we think that the model's going to trip coming down the runway, all that stuff. So yeah, all that stuff happens last minute. You don't really cast models in the very beginning unless you have a muse and you're dying to work with them and you're like, ask them very far in advance, like, can you walk my show? Things like that. So yeah, sometimes someone will come in and that's the model that can fit the dress the best. She's like the best option for that dress. And maybe she gave a big cough and the zipper popped. And listen, sometimes it's just how it is. And so you could see how they stitched it up the back, like I'm sure backstage last minute as previous models were walking out. But the person giving the critique, I loved it because he was being very generous. Like, this is not a quality issue. This is like a last minute snafu. This is not an indication of how Richard Quinn's production is going to look like. But at the same time, like, he was also talking about, he was seeing all of these like quality inconsistencies because he thinks that Richard Quinn is branching out. He's trying to make bigger collections and all that thing. And I'm like, as a Richard Quinn fan, I do like Richard Quinn a lot, which is why I even paused to watch the video to begin with. It's like, yeah, it's like you want to stay relevant. So you want to keep growing and give bigger collections and give people more options and grow your audience with more offerings. And it's just like, oh my God, stop the carousel. I want to get off. It's just so much. You just get like overloaded. It's just too much. It's just too much. Rachel says, I'm not super knowledgeable about all the brands that do fashion shows, but I've noticed that Iris Van Herpen seems to pay attention to which models wear which pieces. Ellen says, really enjoying your stories. Thanks, Ellen. Yeah, I don't know much about Iris Van Herpen, so I have no comment on that. But yeah, some of the big brands, they can afford to get all the biggest names that are currently in fashion. And so they can kind of plan for that. Like the first time I was backstage with Rahul Mishra, he had already secured Coco Rocha as his model. He had already planned that she was going to be the first outfit, and he already knew exactly what piece he wanted her to wear. And it was really a matter of finalizing exactly what he had this huge cape, this massive, massive cape. And it was actually the cape that Queen Latifah wore to the Grammys like the next day or something like that. This was back in January. And he knew he wanted her in the cape. And so it was just a matter of what she was going to wear under it. And he had a couple of options. Like he had a jumpsuit option that would cover her whole body. He had a bodysuit option that would show off her legs. And so we tried a couple of things on. So even in a situation where you know which model is going to wear which look, you have like a very distinct like concept in mind for your fashion show. You know, we still spend some time trying to figure out the exact shoe, the exact underpiece, like, and we did a few run-throughs with the final music where she was kind of walking the length of the practice area and practicing her walk and her performance. Because, you know, Coco Rocha, she's known for doing a bit of like performance walk and not just like a straight catwalk walk. And so she did a few renditions in different outfits, and so that they could see how the walk, the presentation, the music, and what she was wearing under the cape would all work together to get the effect that the designer was looking for. So, I mean, that was very interesting to watch, and she was extremely professional, and it was very cool to watch, you know, where she was like, that thing was so heavy, you guys. It was so heavy because I was trying to help lift the cape like from the hanger onto her body. Several people had to be involved because it's just so big, and each of the cubes is like solid, not like metal, but like they don't collapse or anything. So, but you know, she was a great sport, and she was just like walking around, and they're like, try this kind of walk, and she's like doing her very dramatic Coco Rocha business, and it was great. But it moves really fast. It moves really fast. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about standardized measurements versus personalized measurements. If you watch my latest video that I posted on Friday, I made sure that you all knew that I was doing this block based off of my specific measurements for my body. And I wasn't making an attempt to make a standardized size 12 based off of, you know, like a median range of many size 12s that are currently in the market because I'm just testing prototypes on myself. When it can, like, if and when it comes to the point where I'm trying to do mass production patterns, the patterns will change. They will address a more generic body type. I'm still sticking to my sample size being 12. I think in the beginning I told you how the average American woman is a size 12. And so I'm going to make my average size a size 12 and grade up and down from a 12. And so, uh, although, you know, I'm not doing a lot of corseted looks, so I don't know how much the pattern will change. But right now, the pattern you saw was specifically for my measurements. So if they don't look like what standardized patterns look like, what you're used to, how much you pinch out for a waist, like I have a thick waist, it is what it is, then yeah, because they're my measurements. But I also wanted to share that because I know many of you are trying to make clothes for yourselves. And it's really about your measurements and not trying to do standardized measurements. And, you know, somebody on Threads posted the other day, they are a fashion content creator. So basically, like I checked out their profile after I read their post. They basically get clothes from different designers and take very pretty photos of themselves wearing the clothes and post them to their social media. Nothing wrong with that, but what she said was so dumb to me. Okay, she said, I just think it's so funny when designers only design for a specific body type. And it's like, actually, no, I'm always telling designers to design for a specific body type because you cannot expect a mass market brand to fit everyone. Okay, it's that whole if you try to please everyone, you please no one. And so, with the variety of shapes we are, I do encourage people to pick a niche customer and dress that customer and organically expand from that as your company grows. Okay? I was talking on my Patreon with one of my Patreon students who is doing a very specific demographic of person. I'm not going to blow her spot up, but she's trying to address this particular type of body. And I was like, yeah, go for it because these people need clothes and you can get even more niche than that. And I gave her some examples because your thing is when you're super, super thin, like these runway models that we just talked about, the variance between bodies is quite small, which is a lot of the reason why there are a lot of reasons why people like to use very skinny runway models, but one of them is the uniformity in their size makes casting for runway shows easier, okay? And the more fat someone gains on their bodies, the variety of weight distribution varies body to body. Some people are hourglassy, some people are pear-shaped, some people are top-heavy, like some people have very skinny arms and like they're very round in their middle, whatever, right? And so more and more people are like, these clothes don't fit me. And it's like, yeah, these mass market brands, they use a very generic shape, dress form, and then they're like, okay, this is for everyone. And as much as I don't like fast fashion, like those big brands like The Gap, Old Navy, where they make jeans for hourglass figures, they make jeans for people with like a smaller waist to hip ratio. Like they address those concerns in that way. I appreciate that. Of course, not everyone has the production capacity of Old Navy to do things like that. That's why I say start with a particular niche and grow beyond that. Violet Femme says there is no average body type. That said, it's helpful to the consumer when brands are transparent and consistent about the body type they are dressing for. Absolutely. You do have to communicate that. And also communicate how you wish to grow to get the support and for people to bookmark you for the future. And here's the thing. This is why people think this is kind of like a recent phenomenon, okay? It's because we don't wear corsets or undergarments anymore, okay? Historically, women have worn corsets and manipulated our bodies to be a very specific shape according to the fashion of the time, okay? And so when you look at like Marie Antoinette big peignets, okay? You wear the big corset. Whatever is going on below your waist is nobody's business because there's so much room down there. And we're not fitting anything down there, so we don't care. But it's about taking that corset and cinching it within an inch of your life, and then your breasts are heaving over the corset, and that's the look, okay? When you get to kind of like neoclassical period, where all of a sudden, like everyone wanted to, with the discovery of Pompeii, people are like, oh, we want to look like those Grecian column looks. It's not that people stopped wearing corsets. The corsets changed, okay? The corsets changed to like gridlock them into narrow cages. They did not emphasize the waist. They pushed the breasts up and they minimized the hips so that you had a very straight up and down look under these Regency gowns, okay? And then you get to Edwardian, Belle Epoque, where it was the S curve. And so the corset was really about pushing that breast out, looked like a bird's breast in the front, and pushing your butt back. That was the look. And then again, in the flapper era, corsets were getting rid of, but like we still had girdles that were flattening and smoothing and making everything straight. So back then, being hourglassy was not stylish. Having big breasts was not stylish. Everything was being flattened and straightened and everything. And that was all manipulated by undergarments. Okay. And so, you know, designers didn't really take a lot of care in addressing all these different bodies because the fashion was to cage women's bodies into the type that they wanted them to look to fit into the fashions that they were designing. And so, listen, everyone thinks that Coco Chanel is responsible for liberating women, but if you clock it, actually she stole all her ideas from Jean Patou, and his great sin was dying so that Chanel could take over his ideas and claim credit for herself historically. Okay, so go look up Jean Patou and how he was famous for dressing tennis stars. Tennis stars really liked him because his clothes were easy to wear, and so he was bringing that kind of active wear, comfort, and style into ready to wear before what's her face. Okay, and so as we continue to progress through history, women are still wearing girdles. People are still shaping themselves with the advent of the brassiere, and then the advent of the push-up bra. Like, and then it's funny because the other day I just read a post about how we just don't wear undergarments anymore. We don't wear slips. We don't wear girdles. We don't wear pantyhose. Like, our bodies are no longer molded and manipulated by a series of different levels of restrictive undergarments. And so now designers have to dress the bodies. They don't have the crutch of, okay, well, we're all flat and skinny and straight up and down now. And so you're going to wear a corset for that, and then we're just going to put a dress on top of that. Okay? And that is what it is. That is what it is. And of course, people are sewing for themselves less. You know, in particular, if you didn't really fit like a particular body type demographic, even beyond that, a lot of people knew how to sew and tailor their own things and make their own things and take things in and take things out, you know? So there was this whole thing with the fabric rations during World War II where women were taking apart their grandmother's Civil War era gowns taking them apart to use the huge, massive swaths of fabric and then recutting them into the narrow, slim fit 30s and 40s silhouettes that were more utilitarian. And you could tell that they were taking apart old gowns because you see different patches of sun bleaching, some better than others, but you could see kind of where the original gathers and folds and seams were because of sun bleaching. So, how did we get here? how did we get here? So yeah, it is on the designers now more than it ever has been historically to address all the different body types we come in. Okay. Rachel says, I feel so lucky to live in a time when I'm not expected to wear super restrictive undergarments. That seems like a pretty good trade-off for the extra complexity of designing for various body types. Kind of depends on who you talk to. You know, I've told this story often, but like the more relevant it becomes, okay? I'm not a Trekkie. I've only ever seen like a few, like maybe 3 episodes. But I remember when I was much younger, I caught an episode on TV and I was like, I've always been fashion minded, even like just always paying attention to what people were wearing, even as a small child. And to me, like, I was like, whatever future you want to come up with, whatever sci-fi says, whatever spaceship we're all going to ride, whatever planet we're going on, I don't think this is true because nobody, and I was a chubby kid, so I think this was especially like kind of triggering to me. It's like, nobody wants to wear spandex bodysuits 24/7 and show all their lumps and rolls. Because the people who were on Star Trek, they were very smooth. Whether they were helped by shapewear or not, or they were just Hollywood and had nice bodies. But like, they're all in spandex bodysuits. Some women got to wear a little kicky little skirt, but it was all a bunch of spandex bodysuits, men and women. And I was like, no, we're never going to get to a point where that's what we all want to wear because, ew, I'm not going to show off my belly. Ew, you know, like even that feels very, very toxic that a little girl is thinking those things. But I'm also Korean, which I'm morbidly obese by Korean standards. So whatever. The more I live through life and the more I see people in leggings and I see girls in what looks like wrestler singlets all the time. Like it looks like it's a one piece. It's like a tight jumpsuit with like shorts. It's like all one piece, but it looks like a tank top and like booty shorts. Like, and they're just out running errands and those things. And whatever, like not a judgment call. I'm just saying that the longer I live, the more I see this like Star Trek fashion vision future happening. And I know that some of it is because people tell me all the time, like, I wear this because I cannot find anything to fit me. So all I do is wear leggings. Leggings, t-shirts, tank tops, whatever stretchy stuff my body can get into, that's what I wear. And whether it's because they are big or they're a particular kind of body that is not being addressed, you know, I see more and more people wearing a more Star Trek minus the logos sort of silhouette. So just every time I tell that story, it becomes more and more true. And I've been telling this story for years. It's like, I just never imagined that we would get to a point. Like, when I was first starting out in the industry, premium denim coming out of LA, like early 2000s, the surge was huge. And we were getting to that point where we were adding like 2% stretch to denim, and it was like a big deal. Because everything before that was like 100% cotton, and it was stiff. And like my boss was someone who really liked kind of the body support of a durable 100% cotton. But like our customers were asking for a little comfort stretch. And we were just like, oh, but who wants to be wearing like all these stretchy denim things? It's like, this is the future now. This is the future now. Let's see. Scrolling through the comments. I remember hearing from a great great aunt how her mom would make their clothes during the Great Depression from flour sacks, which had beautiful patterns on them for that very purpose. Yeah, that's definitely a thing that you could look up. It's really great how the flour companies did respond to, like, they saw the trend of, these people using that fabric for children's clothes, and they're like, okay, we're going to help out. And so they would print, and sometimes they would like print instructions or actual patterns like right on the sacks, like on the inside. So finish using the flour, turn it inside out, and use the fabric. And I mean, I think that was a brilliant way of capitalism and community coming together, because the flour companies didn't have to do that. Like, that was an extra expense for them. But I also think that they reaped the benefit because people got to know which flour companies were doing that, had the nicer prints or whatever. I'm sure that was also a thing, but it was like they didn't necessarily have to do that, but they were responding to this demand in a generous way. Like, I think it was good. Oh my God. Rachel says, oh my God, the Star Trek suits, I saw those and thought that had better not be the future. I'm saying, okay, but they kind of are now. Carolina says, one benefit I've read a lot about corset and historical costume wearers is say that the corset provides much better bust support due to the majority increased surface area to distribute pressure. Also, hello everyone coming out of lurking to chat. Hello, Carolina. There are benefits to corsets. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, corsets restricted women and they smushed all their insides and made them ill. And it's like, not all corsets are created equal. Okay. And yeah, like, there are some supportive undergarments that help. Like, when it's Shark Week, I am wearing a back brace. Okay. And you could say that is a bit like a girdle, but it really supports my back and helps me feel good when my back is hurting. So I really relate to that. But yeah, like, if you meet a costume historian worth their salt and they see a corset, they can tell you what time period it's just by how the body will be shaped with it. Like they're not all like just an hourglassy thing. They're all different and they all emphasize different things. I do wish that we would go back to wearing slips because they do protect your clothes. Like, the whole purpose of slips was to protect your nice clothes from sweat and oil more so that you could go longer in between washes. So if you want to protect your nice clothes, get a slip in a nice breathable fiber that feels comfortable against your skin, and wear that in between your dresses, your suits, skirt suits, whatever. Like, camisoles are the same thing. Yukiko says, I'm 52, still too shy to wear leggings outside of gym. I wear leggings at home. I wear leggings hiking, but I always wear a big t-shirt. Like, I'm not comfortable wearing leggings without covering my butt. But that's just a personality thing. That's not. Violet Femme at Carolina, I have read that as well about corsets. Also, corsets today are not built with natural breathable fiber materials like historical corsets were. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Like, corsets, when you look at historical corset making, you're supposed to be lining them in a cotton coutil, which is a type of cotton fabric that is very strong, non-stretch, like very rigid. Not rigid in that it doesn't move, but just like it doesn't stretch, it doesn't warp. So it like retains that shape really well. And then of course the outer shell of the corset can be any fabric, any sort of decorative fabric that you like, but it was typically something breathable. If you watch my rayon video, you know that rayon is the first artificial man-made fabric, and that was invented in the 1880s. But even then, rayon is made of cellulose. So using actual chemicals and petroleum products, unbreathable plastics to use man-made fibers didn't come until the 20th century. So it's rolled in together. Sure. Absolutely. Gabrielle says, I finally got here on time only to receive a call from work. Yeah. Well, work is my benefit is this is my work. So Carolina at Violet Femme. Yes, they're also apparently thicker and made with heavier materials, even for the boning, aka metal, so that may contribute to the relative discomfort. JY says, I saw someone in a space bodysuit in beige color. Ugly. Listen, here's the thing about bodysuits in beige. This is not true of everyone. I just think, I have no problem with people wearing bodysuits, and I have no problem with people wearing leggings, whatever. Whatever you want to wear, you do you. But I do have a plea, okay? Please do not wear leggings or tight bodysuits in a color that is close to your own skin color, because at first glance you look naked. I have seen many a person wear leggings in a skin color close to that person's skin color, and I absolutely am like, what? Please. Okay. That's just crazy. And it does not look good. Carolina, yes, slips and chemises too. I was just thinking about how wearing chemises means I don't need to hand wash so many of my clothes had I adopted one. Yeah. Gmail user, you don't look 52. Oh, I'm not 52. I was reading Yukiko's comment that Yukiko was saying that they're 52. I'm 45. So I'm going to turn 46 in a couple of months. So, yeah. All right. We have been on for over an hour. So I'm going to wrap it up here. It was so great to talk to all of you. What's your opinion on the whole polyester versus natural fibers debate? I think a lot of people who are talking about it don't understand that polyester is needed in some clothing, aka workout clothes. Girl, tell me about it. Okay, I don't know if you're a girl, but girl to me is gender neutral. But anyway, yeah, whenever somebody starts railing about polyester use, I'm like, well, how did they use it? My first question is always, how did they use it? Because if you think you're gonna get power mesh from cotton, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen, okay? Just like anything, my number one sustainability rule, the rule to guide us all, okay? One ring to rule us all, one rule to guide us all is stop making so much crap and stop buying so much crap. It's it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem if we didn't consume and make so much of it. And no sustainability measure is going to amount to anything if you keep making so much stuff. Just so much stuff. It doesn't matter how perfectly sustainable something is if it's just everywhere. Just none. Oh God, you're so right about the leggings that match people's skin color. Last week, I was able to go to Michael Levine. Thank you for sharing the names of fabric stores in LA. All right. I hope you had a good time. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up. Have an amazing rest of your Tuesday or Wednesday if you're that far ahead in the timeline. And I will see you Friday with a new video where I am fitting the muslin of the pattern I made last Friday.